Hello, people. We are back for our third episode. We are now actually on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Deezer, and YouTube. If you didn't know all that, well, we're actually on quite a few platforms now.
Jubbly jubbly.
Yeah.
We're
Then
slowly spreading our disease everywhere.
may as well. More infectious than COVID. Um, we've also got socials which are being handled by someone that we know, which are going to be posted on Twitter and TikTok. So if you see them, feel free to give them a follow. Linktree's been splattered about everywhere, so it's all in there. Anyways, that's the main point of that. Don't know what went on there, but yeah, welcome back to the third episode. So Will,
Sir.
what would you like to tackle first?
Well, before we started, you mentioned to me that you actually had put a few hours into Forspoken there. So if you want, we can hop straight into the crazy stuff.
Straight into the shit show that is Forspoken. Over these past couple of weeks, I've taken a few, well, I say past couple of weeks. Over these past couple of days, I've been taking screenshots of certain comments that I've seen in the review section. To give you some understanding as well, Forspoken's reviews actually started out at 42% positive on Steam. It
And
has risen
it's
to
risen.
to 56%. So
I
just
mean,
over half.
still not great, but better than what I expected.
Yeah, it's a lot better than I anticipated, to be fair. They have made a lot of mistakes. I will get into them shortly. But what I'd like to start with is just going through some of the reviews I found. Because I took screenshots, so I'll send you these across as well. So you can have a laugh and a giggle at this.
Hmm.
I have an entire folder dedicated to Forspoken bullshit now. It's fantastic.
That's how deep we're going into this, eh?
Yeah. You should be able to, by name, figure out what they're supposed to be for, and oh, actually, it's not telling you,
It's
but
not
yeah.
not
Oh well.
named, but
Yeah, it doesn't pull through the names for you. So I've got 2 negatives, 4 positive.
okay.
We'll start off. If you click
We
it,
we can just go in the order that they've actually sent through there if you want. There's two positive, two negative, two
yeah,
positive.
I'll do that then. I think it's this one. No, it's the other. Right. So pos 3 is first. I will also. I'll just swap my screen share so that it switches so you can see this. Here we go.
Mhm.
Right. So the guy first states his hardware specifications and says, so all this bad reviews about graphics and performance, most of them telling only about their GPU and CPU. Some of them even no details about their hardware. Either the rest of their hardware is total crap, or they lie in the first place about their hardware, just cause of being too proud to accept their 1080 or 2080 isn't any more worth any blank
I think
blank
what
blank
he's
blank.
trying to say there isn't worth
Oh,
shit anymore.
yeah,
He worded that very confusingly, but
100%. Uh, then moves on to say, with my mentioned hardware, which is still a good step away from overkill, mate, you're
yeah,
running a brand new i7, a 3080 like I am, 32GB of RAM which has been overclocked, an NVMe SSD, and a 4K monitor. That, even nowadays, is quite overkill.
I
The only,
mean,
if you were
with
to go
his
for the
graphics
40,
card, yeah, his only step up is the 40 series, which is like big bucks.
yeah, if he was to go for the 40 series GPU, that would be more future proofing than overkill.
Yeah,
At
but
which point,
for current times, it's definitely overkill.
yeah, 100%. With my mentioned hardware, which is still a good step away from overkill, I have beautiful graphics and totally acceptable performance. Running 70 to 95 FPS, while the 70s during fast paced fights, having the game settings set to a mix of high and ultra settings. So
I
don't
mean, I
believe this raging kid whose life mission is to complain about every imperfect game. Nothing perfect is existing. The game is fun, maybe a little overpriced, but still worth it. You go ahead with what you were gonna say.
was just saying, like with the specs that he has, I get that maybe some ultra settings might be quite performance and hindering, but with those kind of specs, I would still be expecting more than 70 frames, dude.
Yeah. Plus, did you realize that he's not actually listed what graphics setting he's playing on?
He says a mix of high and ultra.
Yeah.
That's all he states, so it's not really anything to go by.
Oh. Now, I will tell you right now, I am running an i9 9900K CPU, an RTX 3080 Ti, 32 gigabytes of RAM, clocked at, I think I have 6.2. Let me just quickly check. System information. Wrong place. Be best checking it in Task Manager actually.
Yeah.
Performance,
Smash is just
memory.
so handy, dude.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
3600 megahertz I'm running at. So not as good. And I'm also running an NVMe SSD with no fucking issues. I will admit I'm running Forspoken on a hard drive, a HDD 6 terabyte, because fucking no chance am I giving it permission to run on my NVMe.
What was it, 150 gig as well, the game?
Yeah. It
Yeah.
actually works out to be about 90 to 110 gig. When I downloaded it, I downloaded 90 gigabytes, 90.5, something like that, worth
Something doesn't add up
files.
there.
Yeah, so I'm not too worried about that. But I'm running just lower specs than him if you consider my CPU RAM and that I'm running
Yeah.
on a basic hard drive. But I'm running it on 1920 by 1080 on high settings across the board. And I can only run it between 70 and 95. I hit occasional 100s and 120, but that's in close aspect areas because there's like hub area sort of things.
You saying that as well, going over your specs and the settings. I was reading his last paragraph there, saying there's many quote angry folks who can't afford proper hardware and expect game developers to design games for their outdated garbage or whatever he's saying.
Yeah.
But he like a lot of people with specs that high, the majority of them are recording or streaming or something. There's not many
Oh yeah.
people that are gonna go and buy like the newest stuff. Like, sure, there's a lot of them, but they're not gonna be like half of them aren't using it for gaming. Let's be honest. Like when the 30 series came out, a lot of that was being bought for data mining and
Oh yeah.
Bitcoin mining and all that. Like, so there's not many people that are actually gonna have these specs specifically to pay this game.
No,
You
exactly.
know.
I completely agree.
And then if I was one of those people who had those specs and I got this game and I could only run like the best settings at 60 frames, I would be furious and I wouldn't want to be playing it. If
No,
I'm spending that much money, I expect the game to run well and at high performance
exactly.
and high graphics.
I'm running a 144 Hz monitor. I'm capped at my FPS at 120 FPS. So
Yeah,
I
so like
can't
the
even get the
game,
full use out of my monitor.
yeah, the game's not even able to utilize your bloody components and hardware, let alone actually run at it.
No, exactly. Mind you, that is with VSync on, I will admit that. But I'm not going to go out my way to lie about this game in any shape or form, but there are elements of it that just cannot be made up. It's kind of amusing. So, the next one down is POS 4. 11 hours in, defeated one main boss, loving the game. I don't see why people are complaining about the game. Yes, there's minor performance issues here and there, and the map system is a bit slow for my taste, but I assume that will be fixed with some later hotfixes.
Never assume, Rory.
Now, I have to call this bullshit.
See, the first thing
I
I think here is he's not really going into much. He's just saying there's not much to complain. He doesn't see why people are complaining,
yeah,
but then proceeds to say like there's proceeds to list off like a few issues and doesn't give any like pros to the game.
yeah, no, exactly. Now, as I admitted earlier, I've played 3.6 hours so far, which
Yeah,
to most people will sound like it's actually not that much.
it's not when you look at it
No,
in reality.
100%. But in that time, I have gone through the tutorial boss fight, which there was one. You defeat it, then escape it just before you kill it, and then it comes back at full health. You're supposed to lose that fight and then get taken somewhere else. Lot of bollocks, does my head.
Seems a bit
Uh,
confusing.
yeah, I reckon you're supposed to be able to fight it, but it's just no fucking point. You basically use up all your heals and everything by that point. The By the way, the difficulty options are hilarious because you've got three options: story, I want to explore the world, or I want to challenge. I want some challenging combat. When you choose, I thought, oh, I'm just gonna choose because I want to actually have a mix of exploring and combat. That's what I
Yeah,
enjoy. So I went for I want some challenging combat, and yeah, it turns out that's actually hard mode. It doesn't tell you this. I suppose it's a bit
yeah.
self-explanatory, but I was a bit baffled at first.
I don't like when games have that as their like how to explain what difficult the game is because it doesn't really give you any insight. Because you have
Exactly.
no idea how the combat of the game works. You have no idea how the enemies work. Nothing. So like, how can you choose from that?
Well, considering I'm playing on hard, I've never played a game really like this. I can tell you in my 3.5 hours, we'll go with that as a total. I have only died once,
Hmm.
and that was to the tutorial boss fight. I have since tackled a dungeon in the game, defeated the boss in there, which, by the way, dungeons, you basically have two basic monster rooms, and then you have a boss fight. That's it.
Sounds a little underwhelming.
Yeah, for a dungeon. They're really easy as well. Honestly. The damage I did in there was fucking insane. I was like, how am I doing this? The dragon in the tutorial was harder to deal with.
Yeah, something about a
Um,
tutorial boss killing you doesn't quite sit right with me.
yeah, that was the one that killed me first off because it had an attack that could just fucking obliterate you quite quickly.
Oh, that makes
Uh,
sense.
yeah. The people, by the way, who we read last week, who was talking about how, because you and me were messaging each other about this, but they'd mentioned within it that they actually had just got to the new planet after like 2 3 hours. I was there within half an hour. There was nothing to explore.
That
A
makes me wonder
basic
now.
planet.
That dungeon that wasn't a main boss, no.
No, no, it was
Have you
like
fought?
a
Have you
mini
fought a
boss.
main boss? No.
I was just about to actually.
So I'm kind of wondering. This guy's 11.7 hours on record. That last review you read out,
Yep.
and he's only fought one main boss.
Yeah, and literally at the point where I can fight one now if I wanted to.
Which makes me wonder what he's been doing the time being. Has he just been running in circles? Has he been exploring? Has he been dying? Like,
Yeah,
it,
everything's possible.
the, the problem with that kind of review is it doesn't actually review anything.
No,
It just
now
gives his very short, quick opinion saying he loves the game and that's it. But he doesn't explain why. Doesn't
I fully
explain
agree.
anything about what he's done. And with a new game like this that has so much controversy going over it right now, especially with the beta keys released for console and how they didn't go great,
Yeah,
it's you need a lot more information to give than that.
oh, 100%. The other thing he touches on here, the map system is a bit slow for his taste. Now, I'm not going to lie, I timed this. It asked me to open the map as part of the tutorial because you've got to get used to the control scheme, sort of thing. I
Yeah,
get that. So I clicked so I clicked tab, sorry, and then I jumped over to the map screen. I was waiting there for 11.5 seconds for the map to load.
it's not
That's
great.
that's just the map. the game itself loads relatively reasonably. There is a few, if you, especially if you're running on a HDD like I am. There's
Yeah.
some textures that take a bit longer to like load in. Like just as I launched the game and got into the first actual cutscene, just as you see her in court and that, as we mentioned last week, that's where she starts. Um, just as all that's going on, it shows like some, the stop signs for walking civilians where it
Yeah.
changes,
Yeah.
crossings basically. Shows
Yeah.
some of them, and it was just blurred to fuck. Could not see
Mhm.
anything. It was horrific. But then, if it had been on it for like more than 2 seconds, it had loaded. So you do get a bit of that with a hard drive, but it's manageable. It's nothing that's going to ruin it. But general textures itself, it feels like it's a game from, I'd say, 2017, 2016. The graphics don't blow you away.
It doesn't seem like it.
No, it really doesn't. I'd say, to be honest, probably the nicest thing I've seen. Actually, this is something that Shane pulled up. You have a pet cat at the start. It basically goes very quickly, so I can mention this with ease. But you have a pet cat, and this cat, its fur looks a bit like. Oh, she mentioned it from this game. Ah, the Last Guardian Trika look like that sort of like patchy, really overly done fur that doesn't look like a cat's fur in any shape or form. I'll cut this
So
shit
they
if I can
put
pull it up.
more work into the cat's fur that you see for what the first couple minutes of the game,
Uh,
and they have a
this,
lot of other stuff.
this is the thing. It doesn't look like a cat should. Um, I'm seeing if I can find it because I see that someone's got it as a video. Oh, it's Homer. It's not Hudson. Uh, there we go. I'll share my screen with you as well so that you're able to see this. Oh, that's the camera. It's the entirely wrong thing. There we go. That's the cat. Don't get me wrong. That cat is adorable,
Yeah.
but that fur does not look right.
No.
Especially considering that's how it actually looks.
Oh, it's kind of off-putting to watch.
Yeah. But the thing is, it is adorable. But I do know what people meant by it was voice acted. You can tell. Jesus Christ, can you tell?
You tell me not one of the devs owns a cat.
Oh, I don't even know, man. I don't even know. Right. Anyways, let's go to the next one, shall we? So, the next one in our list is the negative large review, I think. Mid review. Okay. Okay, I'm almost done with the game, and I feel like I've played it enough to give a review. Simply, I don't like the game. The optimization is disgusting. For example, for me to open the map, it takes an average of 8.687 seconds. Yes, I actually did the math with opening and closing the map 50 times. I respect the guy.
That's a lengthy amount of time.
Yeah,
If we take that to about 9 seconds, he sat there for about 450 seconds. And you turn
yeah,
that into minutes, that's about 8 minutes almost. That
my sympathies.
he sat there just to do this small test.
Poor bastard. I,
You gotta give him some props, man.
oh, 100%. I get major frame drops on a better than average PC, and I think that's ridiculous. I'll give some simple ratings for brevity. P.S. I give these numerical ratings very accurately, meaning 10 out of 10 perfect game, 6 out of 10 better than average game of its caliber, etc. Story 4 out of 10 It's a good premise, but very predictable. I have to agree. I already basically within like the first 10 minutes, you kind of know where the story's going, and the
What
moment
I'm
you get
finding funny again though is going back to the last review. If this guy took 11 hours to fight the first boss, this guy's 10 less time than he spent on the game, and he's almost done with the game.
yeah,
So I'm
exactly.
really starting to doubt that last review even more and more.
I mean, he's possibly going around and doing extra bits, the extra completable shit like that. Which, by the
Yeah,
way,
like though, if he was doing that, he would have a lot more to say.
that's what I'd have thought as well. Characters 2 out of 10. Did not enjoy a single character. I didn't enjoy any of the humour. Subjective. And Freya feels like a young teenage girl more than a young woman. I have to fully agree with that. She's very much someone who's how can I put it? Talks very much in slang all the time. She struggles to basically convey anything of use, and even humor wise, it's just very quick, off the mark, and doesn't really land anything well. Um, Plus, she seems like more of the type of person who's, I just want to get through this instead of caring about what's going on or what's happening. At the moment, it just sort of feels as though it's like,
So they're trying to project her as one way, but she's coming off as a complete another.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, exactly. And I think that's part to the writing, part to the voice acting. It's a really 50-50 mix. Gameplay 7 out of 10. The combat is pretty dope, the powers are pretty dope, except for the water ones. Hate those powers. And you can get pretty creative with combos, and when you fully upgrade them, they feel powerful, and that's super important to me. I do agree the combat I've been reasonably with, but at the same time, I sort of feel like it's a bit too easy. It's one of those game systems where they could have made it more in depth than what it is. Probably a controversial thing to say, but it's honestly how I feel about it so far. Side quests and objectives 3 out of 10. Bunch of garbage, that's all I have to say.
Straight to the point with that one.
Oh, he's fucking on the money. He's on the money, mate. As I was saying earlier, the dungeon that I jumped into was fucking appalling, really.
Yeah,
Two monster rooms and a boss fight room. What the fuck? Then I came across a campfire, clear out all the enemies. Okay, done. And then it's a case of, oh, look, you found this monument. Destroy the shit that's on it. Okay, done. Takes literally one click of your mouse. Done. Then go up to it and interact. Okay. Perfect. Now you've got plus 10 to regeneration for 15 minutes. Okay. Reason?
Hmm.
Thanks for that. Overall, 4 out of 10, -1. 3 out of 10. Why am I giving it a -1? Because for this game I had to pay $70 American. The fact that I had to pay $70 for a 4 out of 10 game is disgusting. There is no reason I should. This of
Blank.
this blank of optimization plus every other thing for $70. If it were a $60 game, I'd stay a 4. For this is strictly my opinion in my 10.5 hours of playing. Thanks for reading.
I do
But
think he's spot on with the pricing as well. It's
yeah,
absolutely absurd.
no, I fully
And the
agree.
fact that they're charging upwards of £90 in sterling for the most out of the very like the. I mean, what do you actually get? I think we had this conversation last week, didn't we? When we were talking about the different versions you can pay for. We were talking about whatever content you get extra. It was some stuff
Yeah,
you didn't even see, like some nails and a necklace, if I
I
remember
found
correctly.
out the use of the nails in the necklace.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, the nails in the necklace turn out they're of use because they actually are part of your powers.
your nails
Yes,
are a part of your powers.
exactly. By the way, I've just gone on how long to beat. I don't know if you've ever used this website. It's great to find out the actual time to complete the full thing. So for
Yeah.
the main story, they say it'll take 14 and a half hours. Main plus sides, 19 and a half. Completionist, 26 hours. And all styles, 16 hours.
For that price, and that's all you're getting out of it.
Yeah. So you're
And I
getting.
feel like you're not gonna have much replayability out of this game, whether it's because the game itself genuinely doesn't have any replayability, or you simply just do not want to play it again.
Both equally plausible. But yeah, that's taken from 15 polled people for the main story, main and extras 8 people, and all playstyles 23. So it's given plenty of information.
Yeah, it does seem like it gives you like some good average stats, and if you're looking on how long a game's gonna take to play.
Yeah, I mean, if you rush it, 12 hours and 42 minutes will get you through the main story. So, you know, it's
Not a
not as,
lot.
no, not long if you're just a story player.
Yeah, especially if you do decide to pay that top price for the highest version of the game,
Oh,
and all you're
exactly.
getting is 12 hours. Like that's not much.
Oh, 100%, mate. So, shall we move on to the next review?
We can do that.
Now, since I've played this, I do have a bit of scrutiny to push to this review because I took it before I started playing the game.
Yeah, and that's
Uh,
fair.
so I will back it where it's due, but criticize where it's also due. I didn't know how disappointed I could be with a brand new video game until I got Forspoken. A litany of problems, none of which are minor, adding up to a half-baked, poorly executed game. For a game that's supposedly been in production for years, it's off-putting, lackluster, especially for a $70 price tag. No, we can't disagree with that.
No, it doesn't sound like he can disagree with much of that first paragraph. He
No.
seems like he's whittled it down to exactly what it needs to be.
Oh, 100%.
Again, just bringing back to the price of the game as well is just quite something else, to be honest.
Oh, yeah. Cons. 2 hour long prologue consisting of endless dialogue with little to no interaction, but somehow also lacking the vivid cutscenes of games like Final Fantasy. And after seeing how bad this game is, it feels intentional to deny refunds. Can't tell if the game is bad if you don't get to play it for 2 hours. I have to disagree there because I've managed to get through it within like the first, I'd say 2 hour, I'd say about hour and a half. So it's not
Suppose
much
he
off.
might have a point there if you take back to when you were saying if you're a story player game
Yeah,
or a person like that might you might fall into that category.
yeah, I'd say possible, highly so.
But if
Movement.
it
Oh
took
god.
you as well though, sorry, if it took
No, go ahead.
you like an hour to an hour and a half as well, that's still like still bordering that timeline, you know.
Yeah,
You
I mean,
won't get long for the actual gameplay.
plus as you know yourself, mate, I am one of those people who can rush through a story at the speed of light. It doesn't take me long, but it was still a bit lengthy to me as intros go, especially to bring you into the world in which you're going to be playing rather than New York City where you start. It's a bit.
And from seems as though he's saying there's not really much to keep you interested either in that length of time. So to have it that long and not really keep your attention is sort of just one bad thing clashing with another bad thing.
Yeah, like it feels as though they did it sort of build an understanding of why your characters where they are, but even then,
That's a
they're
bit of a
like,
lengthy time
yeah, there's
to explain that.
it's backstory that you don't really feel much of a need. You can sort of explain that on as the time goes on.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you catch a pickpocket, a girl who's pickpocketing you, trying to steal your smartphone, which by this point you still have no idea what you're doing with. But anyways, you fucking catch her, and then you literally give her advice on how to pickpocket better in the future. I stood there kind of scratching my head at that point.
Hmm.
Anyways, we'll move forwards, because otherwise I
Yep.
will kind of get baffled and just fall into a bit of a tumbling
Spiral
hole.
of confusion.
Yeah. Movement and combat are both extremely clunky. This is one thing I do have to agree on. It does feel quite clunky. It, as this guy says, it plays like it wants to mix freestyle acrobatics and hack and slash, but never got around to installing either. For example, parkour mechanic consists of a sprint and a jump. Until many hours into the game, the sprint is difficult to control, and if you step over a pebble, your character flings itself over a mountain of its own accord. Which is weird because in the prologue, you get a short parkour escape run, and it was actually decent. It just sucks after that. I have to agree with that
That
because
gave me a great image in my head when he was telling about sprinting over a pebble.
oh, it's true as well. Honestly, I sprinted, and it was like I'd say one brick that was just at the end of a wall that had slowly decayed. I went over this single brick, and it threw me. And she does like a jump because she feels that there's like a drop, even though it's like only a foot's worth of a drop. Because it feels like there's a drop there, it'll just launch you. The mechanic isn't fully set up for it.
Sounds like something like that. You should be doing more of a vault rather than a let's jump to the high heavens.
Yeah, exactly. Story seems decent, but instead of being explained through the many voice dialogue scenes, all the meat and potatoes are logbook items that you have to read on your own. I got half an hour of a talking bracelet shooting the shit, but can't get 30 seconds of storybook time to explain the core story taking place. A 10-minute burn the witch scene, but learning about how the corruption happened and the nation's all powerful leaders happens in a lame series of logbook entries. That's also very fucking true.
So instead of in all these years of development making actual cutscenes of showing why this happened and how that happened, instead they've just decided to write it on a page and you read the text yourself.
Yeah, exactly. That is
That's
100%.
just laziness right there.
Yeah. They could honestly flesh it out a lot easier. I mean, even if you just have, like, I don't know, she has a mobile phone. She could have a bloody Google Assistant system to read out text to her. Just something that'll play while we're going around. Even that would have been something.
Yeah, there's a lot of games where like you get stuff like that, and you they would read it out to you as you're continuing to play the game once you find it.
Yeah,
But to have to stop in the middle of your gameplay and sit and read a paragraph.
ironically, that just brings me straight back to Callisto Protocol from a few weeks
Ex-
ago. Because they've got the issue where basically, if you want to listen to any of the audio logs, you have to open it in your menu and listen to it while sat in the menu. You can't keep
I
moving.
think they patched that
Oh, did they?
because I think Mark, when I'm watching Markiplier, I think he actually listens to it while walking around at some points, but I might be wrong about that.
Ah, I'll have to take a
But
look.
I do know that's how it started. They might
Yeah,
have fixed it, they might not. I can't remember because I've not really been keeping up with it. I've been watching it here and there, like parts of his videos as I go along, but it's not really keeping me interested that game.
yeah, that would be something I do hope that they did patch. Anyways, there might be a memory leak. The longer I play the game, the more it stutters, and eventually it crashes. I run a water-cooled 3080 12GB with 64GB of RAM and an i9 processor that I built myself. So no, it's not my hardware. So I don't even get to find out what the first major boss is like. 7.6 hours. So I guess I might not be the first boss. This might
But
still
then,
be the prologue area.
but then you have that guy saying 10.5 hours, and he's almost completed it. That
Yeah.
previous one. It seems very like one or the other. It's either people are getting through it quite fast and are finishing it up, or others are having problems trying to progress. I guess it seems to be.
It seems to be one or the other, doesn't it? The world is empty. Seriously. Sparsely positioned trash mob combats, some chess, and rest spots. Throw in a statue that boosts stats and a 4-minute gauntlet in each area. Well done. Minecraft has more variety, which is sad because the enemies look fantastic. I'll give it to them. The enemies actually do look cool. The first enemy you come across is like fucking giant saber-tooth cat that it has teeth all the way from its like the top of its jaw all the way down to its chest, and it's like fucking long saber-tooth teeth all going down. Looks fucking monstrous.
Does sound cool, in fairness.
Mm.
But it seems from what you said earlier, from your short gameplay as well, you don't get much time to interact with the enemies because you were doing so much damage in that dungeon you were mentioned.
Oh, it's funny because to me the regular monsters can last longer than the boss fight. But that's not even a joke. Like, the boss fight, I can kill relatively easily because I'm doing so much damage to it. The regular monsters, though, there's that many of them. You just kind of throw the same ability at them constantly and dodge a couple of times, and it's dead. Problem solved. Move on.
Yeah, there's definitely something wrong there.
Yeah. I know this seems like a harsh condemnation for a game that's just released, but upcharge me $70, delay the game for for months, quoting improvements, with Luminous Productions having the resources to make fantastic game, and there are zero reasons this shouldn't have been a AAA title. Instead, it feels like the rough draft of a game from 20 years ago, which is unfair because Tomb Raider 1996 had less clunky combat and better parkour. That's an ouch statement.
Question.
That's just a bit brutal, that.
Unfortunately, because obviously I haven't seen or played any of the gameplay,
Oh.
I can't really comment on that, but
I'll
that's harsh.
I'll have to have a look at pulling it up for 5 or 10 minutes after we're done today. I'll show you a bit of it.
Huh.
So let's move on to the final two, shall we? We'll
End with a
start with
positive, hopefully.
end with two positives, and the last one, oh dear God, you're gonna have a breakdown. Honestly, it's horrific. Most people sharing negative reviews played for just an hour or two at most. They complain about cutscenes, yet if there were no cutscenes, they would complain about a lack of setup and story. The game is not perfect. It has some optimization issues, but with a bit of tinkering, I got way over 60 FPS and it runs smooth like butter in 1440p. When it comes to the gameplay, the movement and combat are fluid, contradicting to the last post.
Yeah.
You have a lot of interesting combat abilities and combinations. The game world is vast, and there's always a new thing to collect or enemies to battle. It just sounds like they're just throwing shit in for the sake of, though. New thing to collect, but what does that do for you? Enemies to
Yeah,
battle.
and the last review as well, saying that there's not really much. It's just sort of a few odd things here and there scattered randomly.
Yeah. The game was vast. Like to enemies to battle. I also liked some of the time challenges and other things spread within the game world. Okay, so we get now that there's time challenges, but what else?
Doesn't
Is
seem like there's much else.
Exactly. It's definitely not a game for everyone, but it's also not a bad game either. It's actually a cool adventure, and I am having a lot of fun. This is the this next bit is something I've found a lot from a lot of reviews I've read. The dialogue is corny in the beginning. As you advance, there are a lot less corny remarks. As a whole, I think the game is great. I reiterate, this will not be for everyone. But if you like RPGs in general, I think you'll find something to like here. Do keep in mind that the beginning doesn't have a lot of combat, and there are plenty of cutscenes to set things up. Yet once you get past that, you will have a massive open world with lots of potential. The bit I was pointing out before is that a lot of people are saying in the positive reviews that it gets better after the beginning. That's fine, but it shouldn't have to.
No. With a
It
game as big as this, and with how long it took to make and the price of it, you would expect it to be good from start to finish, not have to get better.
yeah,
Like
like
if it's a game that starts off good and still gets better, brilliant, you've got a great game. But a game that starts off very questionable, but then gets better and is deemed good at the end, it's not the way a game should be.
no, you should have it that the beginning always should set a standard. The beginning should set the standard of what to expect.
Exactly.
The midpoint should be where things kick off, and the
It's
end should be
where
the resolution.
it's where you'll lose a lot of interest in people as well, because if the start of something isn't good, they're not gonna want to know what the rest is like.
No, exactly.
Because if it starts off bad, then more often than not, it stays that way, or at
100%.
the very least, it doesn't improve much.
100%, mate. I fully agree. Right. I saved the best to last.
Ooh, I love to hear that.
Mr. Dark Lord. 5.7 hours.
Not much in comparison to the last few reviews we've read.
That's because this isn't a review of the game. This is a review of the people that dislike the game.
Interesting. You
Most
you've you've got my interest, that's for sure, sir.
good, good. Get ready. This is going to be amusing. Most people dislike this game or review it poorly because of a black female protagonist. I understand that most people playing this are privileged white males like myself because they can afford a rig, but that does not mean you have to review this game poorly. Having a criminal record myself, I find I actually connected to the main character, which I think is too hard for these small brained, low IQ, privileged white adult kids that play video games to begin with. The sad reality here is the video gaming demographic was just too dumb to accept this game. Did anyone actually update their drivers before playing this game to optimize it? And anyways, thank you to anyone that actually critically reviewed this game. I appreciate you.
I'm speechless.
I told you it was bad.
This this guy has basically just called the entire gaming community racist.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of immature children and grown ass men that are just take things way too far, which, as we mentioned before, well, as I mentioned before, being a Rust player, you see plenty of that.
Oh, 100%.
But those kind of people tend to stay to those kind of games.
Yeah.
They
You're
wouldn't play a game like this. And for this guy to for that to be the first thing he says, that's something else. Ah, that's
oh,
what that
major.
is.
I mean, the bit that got me chuckling, he states about basically how it's all because it's a black female protagonist and that because she's got a criminal record, shit like that. Now, the problem I find with that is that you find that out at the beginning, yes, but that makes no difference to anything in the story. It's mentioned once and moved on.
Hmm.
It's understood that yes, she did crimes. She even reflects on that as the
That's
time
actually
goes on.
true when you say that. Like in all the reviews we've read there, and then from your own gameplay yourself, there's actually been nothing mentioned about it.
Yeah, she starts off in a courtroom, being arrested for for grand larceny. Um,
Yeah, we heard about that when we were talking about this last week before it was
yeah,
released. How that's how the game starts. Now
yeah,
that the game's been out, what's it been out for now? 5 days.
something along
Came on the
those lines.
24th, I think it was.
Correct.
And since then, we've not actually really heard anyone mentioning anything of it.
Yeah, because after the beginning, it's not mentioned. She references back to it, like I said earlier, about the pulling up
The,
that young girl about pickpocketing.
yeah.
But that's about it. But that's the
Hmm.
only mention I've heard since, and that's like 2 hours later. And honestly, if I picked that game up on another day and just basically heard her give advice to the kid about pickpocketing, I'd be like, yeah, okay. I wouldn't
Hmm.
even recall the memory of, oh yeah, she's actually been arrested for this sort of shit before.
Yeah.
It's not something that you're going to recall very easily. It's not something that's going to
It's
stick with you.
very common in a lot of games to steal items from a character.
Yes.
For
Look at
example,
every Bethesda.
Skyrim.
Yep.
Allow me to put these 50 wedges of cheese into your back pocket.
Oh. But yeah, that is my selection of reviews that I've captured. What did you think?
Certainly a wide range.
Yeah. Let's just say it was
Uh,
harder to find any useful negative reviews.
well, it certainly seems the game is running better than what they seemed necessary to run it. Because they
Yeah.
were making it out like if you have anything less than a 30 series, your PC is gonna blow up. But
Yeah.
it doesn't seem like it's running just that bad, but still not great.
No, 100% not. Especially if you consider when did the RTX 20 series release? September 20th, 2018. So
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel like there was quite
5 years
a
ago.
gap. I feel like there's quite a gap between the 20 and the 30 series, but then the 40 series I feel like got released quite quickly.
Yeah. The 30 series got released in 2020, and the 40 series being released this year.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Last year, sorry. I think it was.
It felt like there was a much
Mixture.
shorter gap for the 40 series coming out.
Well, technically there is. It's like a year. No,
Hmm.
still 2 years. Yeah, 2 years between it. Well, but if you look at it between the 1080 Ti and the release of the 20 series, because it was the GTX, weren't it? 1080 Ti. Yeah, GTX 1080 Ti release date. That was released March 10th, 10 a.m. And the date was. The date has not been captured.
Interesting.
Yeah. 2016. So 4 years is that. No, 2 years again.
That's 2 years from the 20
Fucking hell.
series.
Yeah.
Huh.
2 years all the way then. So I don't really see how they can expect us though to constantly upgrade every 2 years. If you've
Yeah,
got a 30
especially
series.
especially when the market crash happened with the 30 series and now the 40 series
Yep,
is out. That's a lot of money to be investing every 2 years.
exactly. Exactly. But yeah, there's I mean we've just gone rambling about Forspoken for 50 minutes. So
Well, time flies when you're having fun.
oh fucking doesn't it just. So shall we move on to the other topic we had for today?
And what is the other topic we have today, Roy?
Dead Space.
Ah, yes, I believe that released 2 days ago.
Yes. Now I did a little bit of research on Dead Space.
Did a little bit of digging, did you?
A small amount. Nothing major, but just
I
enough sort of.
haven't I haven't really heard much of it to be honest. I know there's
Uh,
quite a lot of people streaming it there, but I didn't really tune into any of it.
Reviews. 6,744. 88% positive.
Sounds like a good start for them.
To put that into comparison, Forspoken, which we were just talking about, has 2,209 reviews at 56% positive,
That's not great.
and Callisto Protocol has 21,234 reviews at 61% positive. The Dead Space is doing pretty well for what?
That's
2 days?
that's not great for the Callisto Protocol because
No, it's not.
apparently its initial release date was apparently the 2nd of December last
Yeah.
year there. And that's all it's got almost 3 months later. No, almost 2 months later.
To be fair, it's a fair amount of reviews, but the fact
Oh
that
yeah,
it's
it's a lot.
mostly it's mixed.
Yeah, it's saying here it was released 2nd December 2022. Game was released for X platforms. Received mixed reviews. The game reportedly failed to meet the sales expectations, which we discussed one of the other weeks there.
Oh dear. So I've just been reading the reviews for it, and I've come across my first negative. This
Is this
guy's
Dead
really.
Space or
This
Callisto
is Dead
Protocol?
Space. This is Dead Space thing. We've left we've left Callisto Protocol. My
Yeah,
apologies.
I think we've talked enough about it.
Oh yeah. So this guy says he's really enjoying the game, but struggling with significant performance issues, stuttering and FPS drops even on medium settings. It should be noted that lots of people are not having such issues, but I would appreciate advice waiting for a patch or two before purchase. Once that gets sorted out, this is going to be a fantastic game. I'm looking forward to recommending this game at that time. He's negatively reviewed it and then stated that he's running a 3050 Ti, an i7 11800, and 8GB of DDR4 RAM on Windows 11.
I'm sorry. How
Now,
much RAM?
8GB. Now, I don't know if you're looking at the minimum specs, but it clearly states minimum 16GB of RAM. Now, that might be your issue, mate.
I was gonna say because I was looking at even the recommended is only an RTX 2070.
Yeah.
So I was kind of confused there as how he's managing that. Like that's actually recommended is pretty good to have
Hmm.
for your recommended specs and RTX 2070 i5 11 6K.
Yeah.
But then you mentioned the 8 gig of RAM and yeah,
Yeah.
I think the issue was instantly identified.
Exactly. I realised the same thing.
If he's
Uh,
running Windows 11 as well, I'm not even sure how his system's running Windows 11, let
Windows
alone Windows
11's
10.
actually Windows 11's actually pretty decent
Is it?
for that sort of thing. Yeah.
Fair
At
enough.
work, we have laptops that only have 8 GB of RAM, which run Windows 11, but we require 16 GB of RAM for Windows 10. It's kind of amusing.
I mean, I guess that makes sense. You know, it's the next version of, you know, things are getting refined down pretty well.
Yeah, they're optimizing pretty
So,
well nowadays.
yeah, I guess that makes sense.
So,
I was scrolling down the reviews myself, and I just there's a few like one-liners that are quite funny.
like,
The
if you
the
liked Dead Space, you'll like Dead Space.
Yeah, that's the first one there. There's one that got me. The guy whose review is, I played it, got jump scared, closed the game immediately. 10 out of 10.
Oh, 100%.
And that was
Oh,
at point 0.4 hours his review time is at, but he's actually 7.2 hours. So I have a feeling he got jump scared so bad he had to alt F4 the game and take a break.
it's about right. I like this, guys. The real horror is realizing Dead Space launched 14 years ago. LMAO. Existential crisis achieved.
Yeah, it's been a long time since a lot of the original games that everyone loves so much have came out. I don't think quite think anyone realizes just how long it's been.
Mhm. Oh, I've just found that guy that you were on about.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, these guys basically are just all happy about it. What's this? For now, a negative review because of two things. De novo, which causes incredible frame rate drops at random intervals, and
What we were talking about last week as well.
yeah, DRM. And I have encountered a game-breaking bug in Chapter 6 where a key item cannot be used to progress the game. If it were not for those issues, it would be extremely high grade.
I mean, in terms of that second part of his review, those
Fair
sorts of
play.
things when a game happens or first releases, that seems to be quite a common thing where there's like very rare occasions where there's something that just completely stops you from progressing, something
Oh,
like that, like
100%.
the key item. They're very uncommon. It affects very few players, and whilst that sucks, usually developers get working on that pretty quickly and get it fixed because it just does just stop you from playing the game. So
Yeah,
I
no,
would
I
say
get that.
expect to see that patch very quickly, hopefully.
I do like quite a few of the reviews for this as well, because like one of them simply read, this one's quite amusing. Uh, single player games are dead. Also, EA releases Dead Space.
There's
Um,
another one that I saw. Someone said EA actually made something decent for once.
yeah, I saw that.
It's been
This
a
guy,
it's been a long time since they've managed to do anything, so it has.
yeah. Um, Here's another one. You like the original game? This is much, much better. You never played the original game? This is the best version of it. You like hard game? This game will test you. You like adventure game but not horror? Turn down the difficulty, still having a heck of a time. You just want to see the story? There is a story difficulty. It's what some people require.
I mean,
Oh,
it certainly seems like they've gave you plenty of options on how to play the game, so you're not gonna struggle with it by any means.
exactly. Someone reviewed. It just works, and it works great. Do you hear that, Callisto Protocol?
They should have got Forspoken in that one as well.
Oh, fucking great when shit like this happens. Oh, here we go. Got a negative review here. I love the original Dead Space so much, and I hoped I could love the remake just as much, if not even more. But sadly, this isn't the case. The technical state of the game is simply atrocious, and the true horror experience I currently have, my rig is well above the recommended specs. That's true, and the game still runs like a turd. Constant smaller frame drops for no reason. DLSS and FSR both balked. Buggy ragdoll collision physics. That's just Dead Space in general.
Buggy
Uh,
ragdoll physics are some of the best things ever.
oh, I know your fucking opinion about that shit. Jesus Christ.
See, did the original Dead Space did they have ragdolls?
Yes.
See, back then a lot of games had ragdolls. You don't see it much more anymore. They sort of just flop to the ground or a lot of time explode into pieces. You don't really see ragdolls anymore. And they were
No,
some
I
of the
agree.
funniest things in my opinion, which you already know. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
So maybe there was something buggy about it in the original Dead Space, and they decided, hey, it was great. Let's change it from a bug and turn it into a feature in the new one.
Yeah.
Because you
I
know what,
mean,
I wouldn't be disagreeing with that.
I mean, the big thing about this is this review pretty much simply falls down into Denuvo as fucked with their game. That's basically what I read this as, because
Yeah,
the primary issue just seems to be it's causing issues and making it laggy, which happens, and that's the negative to DRM software.
yeah, it is unfortunate.
I mean, here's another three negative reviews. Every single one of them list Denova,
I mean, it seems to
and
be really
another
the
one.
only thing. Other than that, it doesn't seem like there's any other negative reviews.
Yeah, and another.
Like listing anything else anyway.
Quite a lot of stuttering, which will probably be Denova again. Major stuttering on RTX 3080 again. Stop using de novo because it kills optimization.
Yeah, it does seem like every negative review is just listing it off.
Game is literal 10 out of 10, but there are a lot of bugs at the moment. Key cards or power cells don't spawn even after reloading the game, so that's some issue. Basic bugs.
Yeah.
Oh, got one here that says no, this negative review isn't focusing on the optimization, and no, it's not focusing on the review on de novo. This is the negative review of the remake. Jesus Christ, that's a paragraph and a half. Fuck that.
In fairness, if there's a few bugs, it's a good time to release a game right now, given the state of the other games being released right now.
Yeah,
You know, it put if you manage to do better than games released at a similar time, you get put on a pedestal, and it's just
exactly.
very easy to get put on that pedestal when all the other current games are doing really bad and the reviews are not doing great. For
I'd agree.
example, Eclipse Protocol and Forspoken, which we just reviewed.
Yeah,
So it's a great time to release a game because it gets you that extra like advertising, gets people knowing more about you because the other ones aren't being advertised. They're not being talked about unless they're being talked about how bad they've done,
yeah, exactly.
and that'll
Uh,
put people off. So
the major other issue that people seem to have is that some of the mechanics just did not age well.
hmm,
But I mean, it's a rebuild of that, so I can understand it. Probably, if they were to continue to do, let's say, Dead Space 2 remaster, just fucking go with it.
yeah, you like they probably fix those different things.
Yeah. Personally, though, I am of the opinion that I'd probably just download some 4K patch or something for the original Dead Space and have fun.
Yeah, costs
But
you a lot
yeah,
less as well.
oh yeah, it cost me fucking nothing in comparison. Be fantastic. But yeah, those are the major two topics we had.
Well,
those were just
I have
shit
a,
shows.
I have a little side thing to talk about.
Ooh,
If you want to delve into that,
go for it. I'm
I've
intrigued.
uh, I've actually already mentioned it to you. It's to do with Diablo 3.
Ah, yes, I remember that.
And season 28, they definitely seem to be going out with a bang for the final season of Diablo 3. As I told you, anyone that's played Diablo will obviously know all there is to know for the most part anyway. There's a whole new Paragon tree coming out,
Yeah.
with which will grant you the ability to craft primal weapons.
Ooh,
But the Paragon tree itself, it's like a whole separate thing. And it's basically just going to be giving you a lot more like stats and extra bonuses and damage and stats to your movement speed, your maybe your different defenses. So and then like how you get defenses against certain elements seems to be stuff with that. But there's actually a whole list that's been released for it. There are 26 powers that you're gonna get,
huh,
which they mentioned you are able to get all of these powers. It's not like there's multiple ways to go down the tree, but you don't have to just go down one way and that's the only way you can go. You can eventually have every single power.
yeah,
And I believe there's even a list listing off every single requirement for each level. So no matter what way you choose to go, you will you will still get the next requirement for the next level. So if you were just to beeline it straight to the bottom of the tree, or if you were to go from top to bottom getting every single power, the first one will cost the same. The fifth one will cost the same as if you were to go straight down, or if you were to get every single one.
yeah,
But they've done it just very simple alphabet letters. You're going A to Z for all your different powers, and then you have three powerful potions that you can get, which are AA, AB, and AC. And then the final one being the final item you get being AD, which is when a primal weapon drops or an item, you will get a second random drop, which is absurd to think about,
yeah, just a bit.
considering how exciting it is when you get that primal drop to then get two of them as well. It's going to
Yeah.
make progressing and getting those most of powerful weapons a lot easier.
Just a bit, yeah.
But
Nice and
just
fun as
to
well.
yeah, definitely. Just to do a quick rundown though of what you'll be getting. The first one is going to be your kill streak timer duration and reward bonuses are doubled.
All right.
Um, the first thing that makes me think of is when you break items and you get that speed boost.
Yeah,
Having that for 2 minutes will definitely be nice. But just
100%.
scouring down it, there's going to be you'll get extra damage, extra movement speed. You'll get increased damage against elites, damage reduction against certain things. I think there's one here is a really good one. Double the amount of Death's Breath that drops, which you're always grinding Death's Breath and Immortal Souls. So that's nice to get those sort of things. There's you gain an immunity to certain things, which is actually kind of crazy. When you get down to the bottom, the last one from the A to Z is doubling a chance to get a legendary item purchased from Kadala, which, as I'm currently playing the end of season 27, I'm buying things off of her and hitting the drop rate. That sounds absolutely lovely. But that's just the quick look at the Paragon. The costs of the levels are quite like they do get become quite significant at some parts. Your
Yeah,
first level is 10 reusable parts, like that's very cheap. But there are some things that are quite expensive. Like you get to just the third level, you need a Greater Rift Keystone and 10 Death's Breath.
right.
Fourth level, you need a class set helmet, so you have to give up one of your set pieces.
Hmm.
And then you obviously know the bounties that you do once in adventure mode. You need a lot of the items from those, so that you need the different specific rewards you get from doing the bounties. You get like the crafting materials for when you're crafting legendaries and set pieces. It
Oh,
takes 10 of each of those from each act. So obviously, with the higher torment you're on, you'll get more drops from the bounties, but the minimum
yeah.
you'll get obviously is one. But
Okay, yeah.
then with the whole season event, how they there's a usually a specific like not event, but there's like a specific. I'm trying to think of the word because I can't think of the word right now.
It happens.
All the time, mate. All the time. Basically, with the way the season's gonna be, there's gonna be certain items dropped. So like the current season event, there's I don't know if you've actually seen it. It's actually really cool. In part of the first act, when you travel across the water to where the church is, there's a portal there that when you go through it, it takes you into a pixelated version of Diablo 3.
Oh,
I can't remember the name of it. It's currently actually it's just an event that's going on in season 3 or season 27 right now. I don't actually think it was part of season 27 originally. Um, but there's like you have to go through 16 floors until you find the guy that's there. The Darkening of Tristram. That's what it's called. It says returns, so I would imagine that it was out a while ago before, and they bought it back for the start of January. There it went on.
ah,
But there's like certain events that go on every season. They have something extra for you to do other than just the base game. They always change it up. And
okay.
whatever's going on with the event in season 28, there will be certain item drops you'll get from this season that aren't in the normal game, and you will
Yeah.
need to find those certain pieces as one of the sacrifices to the Paragon. Here's the seventh upgrade costs Reaper's Wraps, which I believe is going to be one of the items that will drop.
All right.
So there'll be quite a bit of stuff, but it does get expensive. So there's one here's 250 Forgotten Souls,
Jesus.
1400 Blood Shards. So again, I'm sure you probably know you get a higher inventory for how many blood shards you can carry, depending on what level of rift you've reached.
Yeah.
So the higher level of rift you get, the more blood shards you can have. So that will be quite tough to get to because you have to get to quite a high level to be able to carry that
Mm.
many. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that it's going to require. And then there's the primordial ashes as well for the potions. So that's good. That's to do with the being able to craft your own primordial weapons.
All right.
You'll basically when you get a primordial weapon, you'll go to the blacksmith, and it's as if he breaks it down into ash for you. So one weapon or item will give you 55 ash. So you need to break down 3 items, I believe, to have enough.
Hmm.
Or no, you're gonna have to break down six because the first one is 55 primordial ashes, then 110 for the second, and 165 for the third. So, but I was reading it. I don't think that's how it's gonna work. I think that's total contribution to
Yeah.
get them, but I might be wrong. So it'll either take three breakdowns of primordial weapons or six. But I'm sure they're probably debating between them on how to do it.
This all sounds quite interesting, mate.
It does. So when you played Diablo 3, which we now know is a while ago, seeing as last week we talked about how you're having troubles with your account, what character did you enjoy playing, or did you have a favorite? Did you play them all?
Ah, 1 minute. I need to remind myself of the characters.
Well, I'll quickly give you a run through how what I've done. I've not played many of the characters, to be completely honest. I tried a barbarian. I think I only got to about level 20. Wasn't really into it. When I first got Diablo for my PC, I played it on console before, but the console version is nothing in comparison. Um, I tried a wizard. Wizard was all right. There's some cool abilities, but I wasn't crazy into it.
Hmm.
Now I pretty much only play Demon Hunter. I thoroughly
Yeah.
enjoyed Demon Hunter and the abilities, and I've gotten used to it quite a lot and just find them fun to use.
I went
But
Demon Hunter, mate.
yeah, there you are.
Yeah.
Similar taste. I should have known. But
It's me.
the monk is getting quite a big rework from the seams of it. There's a lot of stats getting changed. A lot of abilities now will be doing different things. Um, I'm not too sure what abilities and stuff he has and what attacks he has because I've not played him.
Yeah.
But if that interests anyone, I'm sure they'll certainly have a look. As usual, there's a few small changes for every other class. However, in terms of the Demon Hunter, do you know the set called Natalia's Vengeance?
No, I wasn't able to play that long before I got locked out.
It was quite a fun one, but definitely quite a weak one in comparison to the other ones. Usually you'd be going for that six-piece item bonus because that's the one that would give you your huge damage increase. And with Natalia's Vengeance, it would be once you cast Rain of Vengeance, you'll deal 14,000% increased damage, which when you compare it to other sets isn't a lot.
Yeah.
The one that is for season 27, the gifted set you get for completing the first four chapters of the season quests, you get
Mm.
Unhallowed Essence, and that will give you 350% increased damage per point of discipline you have. So, averaging around 50 discipline from when I've been playing this season, that totals up to a rough 17,500% increase, and that's also one of the weaker sets. Um, there's other sets. There's the one for summoning all companions, and your damage is increased per century by 12,000. You have the option if you get lucky enough with drops, you'll get 72,000% increased damage because you'll be able to have 5 centuries down with the correct drops, legendary stats, and passive skills activated.
Yeah.
And that's just one of them. But Natalia's Vengeance, one of the weakest, but one of the funnest from when I play it. You can only really do Torment 10 if you don't get good enough drops anyway, because you don't do that much damage. It's actually getting just completely reworked.
Mm.
So before your 2, 4, and 6 set piece bonuses, 2 was reducing the Rain Avengers cooldown by 4 seconds when you hit with a hatred generating or hatred spending attack.
Yeah.
That's now getting the whole set's getting reworked to spike traps basically, which I haven't used because they don't really seem that fun to use and they seem quite slow. The
Understand that.
4 piece is changing from Rain Avengers doing 100% damage to spike traps, grant 60% damage reduction when you lay a spike trap. And then the 6 piece bonus, which I just mentioned, dealing 14,000% increased damage. It'll now be just spike traps deal 10,000 increased damage.
Jesus
Which,
Christ.
because when you cast Rain of Vengeance, it wasn't just Rain of Vengeance that dealt the 14,000% damage, it was all of your attacks. But if
Yeah.
with it being changed to only spike traps dealing 10,000% increased damage, it's going to make that set a lot worse than what it already was because it was one of the weakest sets.
Mm.
Now, I don't know uh, a whole lot about it because there's so much to delve into when it comes to the different characters and other classes. So I might be wrong. Maybe there's more to know about Reign of Vengeance.
Possibly.
but it's being changed now to spike traps instead, which seem quite boring to play with.
Yeah, I can understand why, to be fair. But no, it'll be an interesting thing to look into. And as I said, I am working at the moment with Blizzard to try and get myself unlocked and my account back.
I do hope you manage to, because with this being the last season of Diablo 3, because of Diablo 4's release coming out, it's definitely going to be one to look forward to, especially with a huge new update to the gameplay and the powers you're getting.
Oh, 100%. Plus, I don't really want to lose everything that I've got in my Blizz account.
That too, that would be something quite nice to keep, I'll give you that much.
Yeah, tell you what though, it's never fun. Every time you launch your PC, first thing, it always throws at me. Battle.net.
Well, I had a problem there with Diablo 3. I was telling you the standard edition and the battle chest edition, which gives you Act 5. I did manage to get round to getting the regular version refunded and then getting the battle chest edition for my friend. They seemed fairly reasonable about it. You know, there wasn't really too many complaints other than getting thrown back and forth a few times, but we got it resolved in the end. So hopefully, if you can get in contact with them, they can sort it out for you and get your account up and running again.
Yeah, it'd be nice. I just know they're going to be very pedantic about it. Especially considering the Battle.net app doesn't even work correctly.
Yeah.
As is
Well,
with most things. But,
here's hoping you get it sorted because season 28 gets released in 2 days, my friend.
yeah, it'd be nice. Just need to figure out how the hell I even got locked out in the first bloody place.
Yeah. The troublesome one for sure.
Especially now that my old one doesn't even seem to be registered. Yeah,
Slightly concerning.
yeah, I agree. I'll
I,
have
for
to have
one,
a
can.
play around with this when we finish for today.
Well, I, for one, am certainly looking forward to this. My friend seems to be enjoying Diablo 3 as well, so we've a lot to do when the final season gets released here.
Oh, 100%, mate. Hopefully it'll be a good time.
That is what I'm hoping for.
But I think, if you agree, my friend, that we should call it there today. I think we've
Yeah,
covered quite a lot.
we have.
Mostly Forspoken again. We, I promise, unless there is like a significant update next week, there will be no Forspoken news.
If there is a significant update, let's hope it's a positive one.
I think you're
But
hoping for a bit much.
yeah, from in my opinion, I don't think we can really expect much in terms of that.
No. But yes, anyways, it's been a pleasure having you all again. And we hope to, hopefully, hear from people next week. We might actually have people watching and checking things out, and possibly some comments left about new things they'd like to see us check out.
Yeah, we'll be happy to check out anything you guys mention.
Yeah, we do post these every Sunday, so anything that's posted before then, we're more than likely to check.
Yeah,
But yeah, thank you very much for watching, and we'll catch you next time. Bye for now.
have a good one.
Bye bye.